Irony is a concept that is multifaceted and complex, and there are many forms it can take. From the more common ironies, such as verbal and tragic ironies, to the much more narrow and obscure ironies like Socratic and metallurgical. We're going to focus today on the most important irony for writers, dramatic irony. Irony is based on the subversion of expectations. It's about having things happen that are the exact opposite of what should be happening or what you would expect to be happening. And in this vein, dramatic irony doesn't seem to fit into this description, because dramatic irony is when you, as a writer, tell the audience something that the characters don't know. That's basically it. Dramatic irony is the audience being aware of something that the characters in a show are not. This is a basic tool of story crafting that increases the tension of a story because the audience can see that things are not going to turn out the way that the characters expect them to turn out, for better or for worse. And based on this definition, it doesn't seem like dramatic irony is irony at all. How does the audience knowing something that the characters don't constitute irony? The simple answer is dramatic irony is about tempering your audience's expectations to what is going to happen, which makes it very easy for you to subvert those expectations and thus creating irony. But how do you use dramatic irony well? To start, we're going to talk about the three primary uses for dramatic irony: creating tension, tempering the audience's expectations, and for comedy. So first, it's easy to see how dramatic irony creates tension in a story. You, the audience, know something that the characters don't. Alice thinks she'll get a promotion after this breakthrough piece of journalism, but instead her boss is going to be throwing her under the bus for who cares what reasons. And so you get to watch her struggle to finish this extremely difficult job that's ultimately going to lead to her downfall. And watching a person just go headfirst into a bad situation creates a lot of anxiety in the audience. It makes you feel like something bad's going to happen because you know something bad is going to happen. You know what's waiting at the end of this tunnel, and so you dread its approach at the same time you want to see the main characters succeed. And even if the characters manage to overcome this obstacle, knowing about it ahead of time allows you to feel the tension throughout the entire story rather than have it come as a surprise at the end. This way you can experience the dread of it constantly approaching. And sure, the characters might overcome this fate in the end, but making the audience aware of the threat well in advance so that they can feel the anxiety of its eventual doom approaching just adds a lot of drama to whatever story you're telling. This is why almost every piece of fiction often has cutaways to the main villains of the story being villains and planning to do villain stuff, so that you're aware of the stakes of the story and that you get to know things even though the characters absolutely don't know what's going on. Second, you can use dramatic irony to temper and subvert your audience's expectations. When you know how a story ends, it changes the way you experience the story. This is why people avoid spoilers so fiercely, because you never get another chance to have a spoiler-free experience. But sometimes a story wants you to know how it ends. Sometimes stories are written on the assumption that you already know how it's going to end. This is almost necessary in prequels and historical fiction. Star Wars Episode 1 is written under the assumption that you know who Anakin Skywalker is, and watching them succeed in this movie is taking them one step closer to Darth Vader, even though we don't know exactly how they get there. Other times stories will include a flash forward to an extremely dramatic, intense, or emotional moment, and then put in a, "Hey, that's me, and I bet you're wondering how I got here."
Will you take a look at that? Pretty pathetic, huh? Well, you'll never believe this, but that llama you're looking at was once a human being.
Now, this is a useful framing device because it gives you, the writer, some control over the audience's assumptions and expectations, which is doubly useful if you expect to pull the rug out from them. It's really hard to pull the rug out from under the audience if you're not confident where they're standing on. You know, because if you try to, pull a rug and there's, no one there, you're just cleaning, I guess. What I'm trying to say is that you can use dramatic irony to guide your audience's expectations for how things are going to go, and use that to play with their expectations and assumptions about how things are going to go. After all, you put them there. You should be able to play with them. And finally, dramatic irony is one of the hallmarks of the sitcom. No one except the audience fully understands the silliness of the situation these characters have gotten themselves into, and these characters' limited information about their context just leads to them making silly or just bad decisions. It lets the audience know the stakes and the context of the situation so that they can enjoy the ridiculousness of it all, and watch these characters make obviously bad choices that the audience would absolutely not have made. And in essence, this is what dramatic irony is all about. It justifies why characters will sometimes make bad choices and lets the audience know immediately that these are the wrong choices. Because if the characters knew what the audience did, they wouldn't make the choices they did. Othello would never have killed Desdemona if he knew that Iago was a parrot in an animated. If he knew that Iago was lying to him. Frankenstein would never have shunned his creation if he understood the intelligence and gentleness he imparted onto him. This makes it clear that there's no confusion about, is he making the right choice? Will this work out in the end? It erases that. The audience knows for sure this is the wrong choice, or the right choice. It depends how you're using dramatic irony. Either way, letting the audience in on what's happening helps you guide their experience of your work. It helps them understand the point you're trying to get across. It helps them understand the choices your characters make as flawed or incomplete choices. And then at the very end, when they feel like they know everything, you can take that rug and just shove it out the window. Maybe not. Rugs are usually bigger than windows. It's a lot of glass. One last thing before you go. If you're going to be in Calgary Sunday, June 3rd, make sure to check out the Ask an Author panel being put on as part of the Writers Guild of Alberta's annual conference. It's completely free of charge for anyone to attend, and it's your chance to ask questions of established writers about how they do their work or how they find publications. And hey, if you're not going to be in Calgary, that's fine too, because I'm going to be live streaming that event to the Writers Guild of Alberta YouTube page. Details on that can be found in the description.